You think falling in love is romantic. Ancient humans would have thought it was reckless. For 99% of human history, choosing a partner based on feelings alone could get you and your entire group killed. Love, as you understand it right now, the choosing, the chemistry, the private slow burn of it, might be one of the newest inventions in the entire history of our species. There were groups, the Ju'hoansi in southern Africa, the Hadza in Tanzania, have found something that surprises most people. Pair bonding, two people choosing each other and staying together, isn't a modern invention at all. It shows up consistently across almost every documented hunter-gatherer society on Earth. Different continents, different climates, same basic pattern. So the instinct
So the instinct to pair off was already there, deep in us, long before marriage, weddings, or rings existed. But here's where it gets complicated. Anthropologist Helen Fisher, who spent decades researching the biology of love, argues that humans evolved three separate systems: lust, romantic attraction, and long-term attachment, and that these systems don't always point in the same direction. Lust wants variety, attachment wants stability, and romantic attraction, the dizzy, obsessive, can't eat, can't sleep feeling, is the one that hijacks your brain chemistry the hardest and burns out the fastest. Brain scans of people newly in love show activity in the same reward regions activated by cocaine. Evolution didn't design romantic love to make you happy. It designed it to make you commit long enough to raise a child who couldn't survive without two exhausted parents.
So the feeling is old, ancient, baked into the same brain structures your ancestors had. But what they did with that feeling looked almost nothing like what you do with it today. Fail, grieve, laugh, get sick, and recover since you were both children. Attraction wasn't built on curated photos or a clever opening message. It was built on It was built on years of direct observation. You knew exactly what you were getting, for better and worse, before any romantic feeling ever entered the picture. And privacy, the thing modern romance depends on almost entirely, barely existed. Anthropologists studying hunter-gatherer camps describe couples relying on darkness and distance, walking just far enough from the fire to be unseen, using timing and social pretense rather than actual physical separation. If you wanted a private moment with someone you loved, to pretend they didn't notice. Then there's the part almost nobody expects. In many documented hunter-gatherer societies, marriage wasn't really about romantic love at all. It was an economic and social contract, an alliance between families that determined who shared food, who helped raise children, and who you could rely on if things went wrong. Love, if it existed in the relationship, was often something that grew slowly afterward, not the reason the relationship started in the first place. The order was often backwards from what you'd expect. Commitment first, feelings later, not the other way around. That doesn't mean it was cold or loveless. Grooming, physical affection, shared laughter around the fire, these were constant. Anthropologist James Suzman documented that hunter-gatherer adults spend hours a day simply being with each other, talking, touching, reinforcing bonds. In a world without writing, currency, or contracts, relationships were the entire infrastructure of survival. You didn't fall in love the way you do now, suddenly and privately. You grew into it, slowly, publicly. in front of the only 30 people whose opinion mattered. Then, about 10,000 years ago, agriculture changed the entire equation. Humans stopped moving and started farming. Land could now be owned. Wealth could now be inherited. And suddenly, who you married determined who inherited that land, that wealth, that power. Marriage became responsible. Historians studying the shift point to a specific and surprisingly recent turning point, roughly the last 200 to 250 years, when industrialization, individualism, and rising personal wealth gave ordinary people, for the first time in human history, the actual freedom to choose a partner based on feelings, rather than family alliance or economic necessity. For the first time in human history, the 200 years. That's not even a rounding error against 300,000 years of human existence. Grandparents, you didn't inherit a broken version of love. You inherited an entirely new experiment, running on very old wiring never designed for it.